want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
Which one is which? Which one has the secret sauce enabled? Which one smells like coconuts? Which one smells like horse meat? We got the Sony A7c versus the Fuji XT4. Similar price brackets, I think. Similar weights. It's just one has a tiny sensor. Can you tell just by the colors? The colors that are so important. Oh, your green shifted skin tones make me sick. Oh, you're so sickly. Make it more magenta. No, too much magenta. Knock it down a notch. Raise the pink hues. So we got the full frame Sony A7c with the Zeiss 55mm 1.8 on your right, and the Fuji that could XT4 with the Viltrox 33mm 1.4 on your left. Are you surprised now? Wow. Both seem to be doing that well. That was not as smooth. Sony wins. That Viltrox is my favorite lens for the system. If I'm just here, it's got nice Toneh. It autofocuses mildly smooth. Except when you go back, it sometimes does stuff. So I just wanted to test them briefly in here initially. Similar focal lengths. I think the Viltrox is like a 52-ish. That's a 55. 1.4 is a 2, and that's a 1.8. We're close. We're in the ballpark. But that's a Zeiss lens. This is a Viltrox. I'm actually glad I got this Zeiss lens because I keep seeing it on Kijiji. I got it for $870 Canadian, and I keep seeing it for like $950. I saw it for $1,200 the other day. I think that's more than it is new. Some people are, oh, it's new. I barely used it. Nobody cares. You get no warranty. You're a freak who probably put boogers on it. You gotta discount that shit. It's not really a fair comparison because the Viltrox is like a $300 lens. Like, it's so cheap. It's good. It might not have the perfect color matrix in your heart, but autofocus wise, like, it's better than the Fuji lenses. So, but that's the main problem. That's the main advantage of the Sony system. You got so many amazing lenses, whether they're Sony or Tamron, Sigma, or the freak Laowa lens that won't let you use the Catalyst browse. You can't browse. We'll go outside soon. I think I'll use the Sony 20mm 1.8 versus the Rokinon 12mm Toneh 2 because that's the thing. Fuji has no vlogging lenses. They have no wide stuff. Only that 10-24, and it warps too much, and that's a Toneh 6. Be real with your mom right now. She ain't gonna invite you for dinner with that lens. Be real with yourself. Wow. They're so smooth. Now in the screen, I don't know, I don't think I have a LUT on it. We're in S-Log 2, F-Log here, but that looks like Eterna to me, whereas this is just gray mush. And we're +2, I think, exposure comp, because it looked so dark. I'm trying to get the ISOs to match 1250 right now. So we've done well, kind of. I doubt it. I love the Fuji system. Just the look straight out of camera, the dynamic range, it's so pleasing. The autofocus good enough in here. This is the studio camera. You take it on the street, bad things happen to good people who are walking their dogs. They don't pick up the poo, and then your neighbor steps in it. He's like, why? Poo's not a gift to the world. Your dog pooed to get rid of something. Now pick it up and take it home and bake a cake with it, asshole. I could be 100% happy with the Fuji system as one camera. Just, there's no one lens to rule them all. But now that I have the Sony, not this isn't mine, this was brought to us by Camera Canada. Let's all go to Camera Canada. They give you Halloween candy, even though it's November. It's not either of those months. Oh God, what year is it? But now that I have the Sony A7 III, thanks to Flat Earth Santa possibilities, like I always choose it. It's full frame. Fuji isn't. And the lenses are so fun. Even that Tamron 70-28, that's fun times. Where Sony dies on the operating table after a sex change is the IBIS system. So maybe Fuji can redeem himself out in the streets. Let's take it to there. But did anybody win the autofocus battle? Let's do it. Okay. What's happening on... What are you doing? Plot twist. Just in the nick of time, I got a delivery. We got the Fuji 16mm 1.4 Glory Machine. I've never tried this lens on this camera. This was the one I thought for sure I would have bought for the system. When I tried it on the XT3, I was like, yeah, that's your lens. How we doing on it? For some reason, the overexposed Sony can only go to 1/4000th. Oh boy, it almost feels like I have to stop it down to loser mode. Do I? Oh, the superior Fuji, letting its world be known that it's here to stay, while evil unicorns capture our heart in an Illuminati-like fashion. Okay, I stopped down to 2.8 on the Sony because I was forced to. That sucks. That's a bunch of bullshit. Whereas the Fuji 1.4 all day, I can't even see what the shutter is. It doesn't care. I noticed the Fuji's auto exposure is the best in the business for the skin tones. And you can't even change the settings. Doesn't even matter what you do. Fuji knows. So I want to test auto exposure, stabilization, autofocus, dynamic range, and then I made a couple points where the Fuji has some advantages over the Sony and where the Sony shines. So right now, auto exposure, facing the sun. Facing that sun. It's hard to get gotta bring that one in a notch. And then this very important test. Who does this better? Because you should be doing it in your videos, and if you're not, that's why you suck at life. Wow. Who handled that better? Is there any Toneh? Give me back my Toneh. Give it back. Okay, stabilization test. You've already seen it, but whatever. We're doing it. Fuji XT4, I got digital stab on because you need it. And I have that advantage where Sony felt they didn't feel the need to include it. So that's bullshit. This is heavy. That's a heavy lens. I regret everything. Versus the Sony, IBIS on. Now, of course, I could catalyst browse our ass up there, and then we'd be on a gimbal, but that takes forever. It's not worth it to me. I would never do it. Maybe I'll do it for like 10 seconds. It'll be a 7-minute render on that one. Who wins? It's winding now. I figure we do a little no digital stab on the Fuji test. So it's just IBIS, no lens stab, no digital. How's that performing? Oh, I gotta tell you, the Fuji. With this lens now, that's magic. That is magic sauce. How many calories are in it? Not enough. Here's a quick catalyst browse stabilization test, just so you can see it quickly. Stop talking. Stop walking. Don't do it. I only do a 10% crop. Stop talking. Here's just a 5% crop. I'm curious to see if that's enough because 10 seems to stay. Stop talking. Is it good enough? Is it smooth? It's good? Yeah? Here's a 30% crop, but we run. Is it the most stable thing? Stop talking. Don't film anymore. Press the record button. Okay, low light is happening. Now, this is where the autofocus struggles. In the real world, you can move around in your living room all you want. That don't prove a damn thing. It don't prove a... Oh, it's so windy. Oh my God. Who will lose me as we face the different shades of life? Sunshine to shade. Who keeps up with the system? Oh no, he's backlit. What's happening? Does either have an obvious dynamic range superiority complex right now? I see similar amounts of zebras, but I look better exposed in the Fuji. That was a choice the Fuji made in my favor. I'm just gonna rest you on the ground, not because I'm weak, but because I wanted to see what the tripod status was. Okay, so let's talk about some Fuji advantages. In my opinion, it's the colors. Straight out of camera, you don't have to tweak a damn thing, really. They just look good. They look great, and it's 10-bit, so if you were to have a Demon LUT from the Camera Conspiracies LUT pack in your back pocket, I do believe the Fuji would handle it better, whereas Sony may be struggling in the shadows of life. Now let me be very clear to you, the colors matter only for your ego, not for your audience. They don't care. They're not, oh, he's so beautiful today. Why is that? Oh, can I bow to him? Where do I bow? Can you bow online? Nobody gives a shit but you. And I admit it. I look at the camera like, oh wow, how do I look today? Oh, look at it. Not good. But if grading is your thing and image quality, obviously the Fuji 10-bit files and better color science versus the 8-bit loser mode of the Sony from 1912 that they didn't feel like updating in this camera. Here's some old tech. We had some in the storage. Now another Fuji advantage, stabilization, should be superior. I'm imagining it is. It better be, especially with that digital. It's just better. It's a smaller sensor, so it's easier to stabilize. If Sony would have added the crop, then it'd be a completely different game. But they didn't. Backlighting so hard right now. Whereas the Sony, not so good. A little shaky, a little jerky. It's watchable if you're careful, but not really. It's much worse than the A7 III. Actually, I haven't even compared them, but it seems worse. We're back at 1.8. Oh, because I was in the shade. We got Toneh. We got Toneh back. In my opinion, Sony has a pretty natural handheld look, but it is kind of irritating. There's times where it's like, oh, that's not so bad. And then there's times like, oh, God, oh, stop. And let's be real with our Fuji selves here. This is no Olympus level. It's good sometimes. I've never tested this lens on this, but how is it? Oh, that was a shake. But it's not that great on that Samyang. And the kit lens is okay if you put digital on. Now this may seem like a stupid advantage, but the SD card slot is better in the Fuji. It's easier to open. It's the best in the game. It's a little easy switch and open, and then it locks automatically. Whereas this one's on the opposite side. You gotta close the flippy screen to get it. It's just a weird system, and pushing the card in is awkward. It has to be just right. You need nails of a Wolverine. It ain't right. There's nothing right about it. And that leads us into the system. Trying to get your files off the computer. I don't even want to look at you, Sony. Sony, hands down, has the worst filing system I've ever seen. On Fuji, you open as one folder, you're in there, you get it. And you delete that thing. On the Sony, it's like, there's already 4 folders, and then you gotta click into like weird shit that's named wrong, like M4 root. I almost died. No, I didn't. False alarm. M4 root, and then click, and you gotta go into like 3 subsections, and then you gotta do that again to delete, and there's always a thumbnail with the video. Why? An extra thumbnail that you have to delete, and then there's a separate thumbnail folder for another thumbnail. Like, what the hell are you doing? Another Fuji advantage, it looks cooler. Oh, look at each other. Look at you. The Fuji's just a cooler looking system. How do I get it? Are you getting it? I can't see it. Whereas the Sony, are you good? Is the Fuji focusing on him? I swear to God. But it's not like Sony doesn't have some advantages. Unlimited recording times, for one. Fuji over here shuts off after 30 minutes. It's kind of a pain in the bitch, but we got the tally light, so that's nice. I don't mind that. Sony, you suck. Even though you win this category, you suck. Sony autofocus in general, much better, and you can track, which you can't do on the Fuji, but you can't do that in slow-mo anyway, so it's not that great. There's not very many times I want to turn around and look at something and track it when it's not in slow motion, so don't really care about that. But the fact that it like never loses you outside, that's fun. That's fun times. I forgot one of the biggest advantages for Fuji is the slow motion, 240 frames per second. Dare we pit it against the 120 loser P of the Sony system. So if you're looking for a YouTube scrub camera, You couldn't go wrong with either of these. I kind of lean the Fuji for a couple reasons. The look is better. You prefer that. The 240 frames per second slow-mo is superior. You got this lens now. You believing that? Oh, 67 mil. I had an ND filter for that. I could have used it. Oh, I'm a moron. Why didn't you tell me, Sony? Sony, I don't know. I kind of prefer it for at home because you get much more Toneh in a wide lens. That's fun times. And the autofocus is much more reliable. You never have to worry about it. But Fuji has like a cult status and a following, mainly just because of the look. Bunch of ego hobos liking the look of themselves. Monkeys in a mirror type of thing. Sony doesn't really have that. Usually the skin tones are like a little green. You're like, oh, what the hell is wrong with that? That's fine. You Shrek ass. See, to me, this is a bit of a problem. A 1/4000th of a limit, and I'm got zebras on my head. So, Fuji just knows. It's a little bright looking, but it's fine. So who do you think won today? I think they're very even, but depending on what you want, the better colors or the better stabe. I'm looking at the wrong camera for that. Better autofocus, wrong one. Bottom line, they're both way too good for YouTube scrubs. They're way more than you need. You do not need this in your life. But if you should so choose them, either one, can't go wrong. So let me know who won the battle. Fuji has a secret camera coming out that I definitely don't have. That would be a more realistic comparison to this, in theory, not that I would know. So maybe we'll do that someday, but till then, I don't have it. Never did. I'm gonna leave. Thanks for buying a Camera Conspiracies t-shirt. Subscribe for more videos.